عسى حبك بيض الله قلبك بيض الله قلبك كن سموحا لخصمك تلقى خصمك أحبك بيض الله قلبك بيض الله قلبك واحتفل بالمودة إنما
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban bikum. Welcome to the Sulaimaan Ravat show this beautiful Friday evening in January, the first month of the Gregorian calendar. We are coming to you live this evening from our studios here in Sunny Hill, Johannesburg. Here, it's the first live program for the year 2018. Have you already made the mistake of saying 2017? You know, January is normally the month where you get the date a bit confused. You're so in the habit of saying 2017, or you're so in the habit of writing 2017. I think the people in the banks even know that they need to check the checks properly in the month of January. Many people would put 2017. And if you put a January date with 2017, it's automatically a stale check. But anyway, it's good to be back to live programs, mashallah, after the holiday break. We went deep into December with the ENC's elective conference and all of that. And then we ran you that series, Personality Profile. Subhanallah, it was so fascinating to interview those individuals. Moulana Ibrahim Bam, Ghulam Raja, Qari Ziad Patel, Brother Ashraf Dokrat. And then my producer Mohammed Chunara turned the tables on me and he put me on the other side and he interviewed me about my life story. I can tell you when that flight had last week, my family were watching with quite a degree of interest. And my kids found it very interesting. I think they learned a lot about me that they didn't know. I found it somewhat embarrassing. But anyway, it's back to now normal live programming with the different segments, inshallah. And our first focus this evening on the program is Cape Town and the water crisis in Cape Town. It's really a dire situation. They're talking about day zero coming within 3 months. A situation where that on the 21st of April, I think it is, the taps will pretty much be turned off for most people, except, you know, those who are key stakeholders. And what would happen is that you would have to queue up and you would have to go and collect your ration of water for the day. Can you imagine that in the year 2018, with all of our technology and with all of our sophistication and with all our advancement, we face such a situation? I suppose in many ways Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala reminds us from time to time as to who is in control. That, oh man, in the end, it's all in Allah's hands. With all of your technological advancement and with all of your inventions, if you don't have water, something as basic as water, you have to end up queuing up. You've got all the inventions. You've got your geysers, you've got your shower heads, you've got your taps, your pipes, and everything that goes with it. But Allah is in control in the end of the day. But it's a crisis indeed, and to find out what the situation really is like on the ground in the Cape and what is being done by Muslims in the Cape to address the situation, we cross over to Cape Town and we are joined on the line by the Vice President of the MJC, that's the Muslim Judicial Council, Moulana Abdul Khaliq Ibrahim Ali Saab, Hafidahullah. Moulana, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to ITV.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And our greetings to all the viewers of ITV.
Moulana, firstly, you know, for those of our viewers who are in the Natal province, in the Gauteng province, who may be following the story somewhat on the news, but don't really have a good grasp of what's happening on the ground, can you paint a picture for us? How difficult has it become for Cape Townians with regards to the water situation?
Yeah, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The reality of the situation is that we are in a period of drought and we do have a water crisis. It's undeniable, and at the same time, regulations have been introduced to the communities with regard to water restrictions and water limitations. And immediately when we think in terms of that, then in a very practical way, we needed to adapt ourselves to minimizing the usage of water, because very importantly for all of us, we had to bring it down to the point of using minimum amount of water for wudu, minimizing our amount of water for ghusl, and at the same time make sure that we are able to have water saving mechanisms in place, which means that the water that we are able to use for washing, washing dishes, and at the same time, it can be reused, recycled, then we should be able to do that. So the reality is that we are faced with a situation that requires and demands from us to do the necessary adaptation so that we can be able to be saving on water.
Now, we read in the news reports, Moulana, that the majority of Cape Townians are not compliant. I think one news report was saying only 37% of those in the Western Cape are adhering to the restrictions, and the remainder are still using more than what they are allowed to use on a daily basis. Why is that? Why do you think that there isn't that greater degree of compliance?
Well, the reality of the situation is we still have the opportunity when we open up the tap, then the water flows normally, like how it flows. And we imagine sometimes it is a matter of apathy, it is a lack of compliance to regulation, and it is just sometimes a careless attitude almost that we are not faced with a crisis on the ground. And therefore, the past week I noted one of our people that serves in one of the departments did say there had been somewhat more saving during the past week because it is now that the water usage are being monitored on a more closer basis. So the reality of the situation is it requires the paradigm shift and the mind shift to understand that we need to bring about the change and the transformation within our own circle, within our own family lives. And hopefully, inshallah, Aziz, there could be some pushing up from that percentage that you made references to. But it is a reality. You know, sometimes when we do visit some of the masajid, just today for the Salatul Jummah, I had to say to the people in the masjid where I conducted the Jummah, we need to change these particular taps here. We cannot wanting to open up a tap and the water is going to flow normal, like how it has been previously.
That from the side of the MJC and also the ulama in general and the Muslim community, what initiatives are there in place to conscientize people and also to make people understand what they need to do to play a part here?
Well, you know, first, in this particular regard, Moulana, you would understand that one of the unique features of this ummah is that Allah loves purity. Inna Allah yuhibbul mutatahhirin. Those that is pure and purifies. It is the character and the nature of this ummah to be using water. And from all people, perhaps the Muslim community uses and consume water much more than any other denomination. We have to make salah. We need water for ablution. We go to relieve ourselves. We require water to clean ourselves. A person sometimes there could be a situation of farad ghusl. You're going to require water. So the fact of the matter is undeniable about the necessity that we require for our ablution and ghusl and so forth. The teachings of Islam is also very clear. وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا إِنَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُسْرِفِينَ. Allah commands us that He dislike wastage. And so now that we find ourselves in a situation like this, isn't it a beautiful teaching that even if a person sits on a riverbank, then there also we should not be wasting water according to the teachings of our beloved Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the responsibility upon ourselves as the leadership and the Muslim Judicial Council is, first and foremost, to inspire and to motivate all our imams and our ulama to motivate their communities and their constituencies to minimize water usage, be it for wudu, be it for any other means, and to bring about the change and the shift so that more than anything else, the Muslim community must be seen as leaders in this particular regard. We have the opportunity to showcase that we are taking the lead to bring about this particular shift within our water consumption and making use of water. So the guidance is out there to our community. where when it comes to the wudu, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, I must be able to say, in many of our masajid we have noted that there had been, the taps at the masajid had been changed. In some of the masajid, there is no longer where the water is flowing, but it has a spray type of that comes out. My apologies for that. So the reality of the situation is we see some of those particular changes. At some of the masajid we noted, Alhamdulillah, there is a bucket under the tap. So the water is kept, it is being used probably in the systems, in the toilets and so forth. So these type of mechanisms we note has been introduced. But it requires consistently to be reminded that we are in this particular crisis. We need to adapt ourselves to the emergency that we find ourselves in. And in doing so, it becomes a means also of showcasing how the Muslim community is ready to comply to the demand of the hour.
Now, Moulana, from a political perspective, there has been some speculation in the media that the DA became a bit focused on their own internal politicking with Patricia de Lille and Helen Zille and their own internal squabbles, that they actually lost sight of the water crisis and they have dropped the ball somewhat. Is that a common sentiment amongst people in the Western Cape?
Now, let me just take you, Moulana, to a point, I think it was on the 15th of January. I'm speaking under correction. We were invited as the leadership of the Muslim community by a group of people that has now formally, or yes, it is being formulated as a water crisis coalition. And the coalition consists of more than 60 odd organizations. The Muslim Judicial Council is part of this particular coalition, and when I attended that meeting, it was well represented by civic organizations, by about everybody in the community. It's not politically driven. So in this particular forum, they divided themselves in various groups. And one of those particular areas is really to do the necessary research to assess what has happened here. Now, report shows that there had been indications that because of climate change and because of other factors, that there is obviously a situation where the city could be running without water. Even the fact of the matter is, the leadership of the DA is saying the city has managed badly the water issue. Or it is a common understanding here. The city could have done much better. Even with, as far as what the coalition is bringing up, water leakage. There's so much of water leakage within the province here or within the city that could have been fixed, and it could have led to saving of water. Now, you are right, Moulana. The fact of the matter is there have been a lot of squabbles within the city of Cape Town, and now immediately it appears that the province is taking charge. They are coming in on board now to address this particular crisis and wanting to say that the issue could have been much better being addressed by the city of Cape Town. For whatever the situation is, the fact of the matter is we are sitting in a situation of drought with water crisis. The day zero has been brought down now from the 21st of April to the 12th of April, which means that whatever measurements are going to be introduced, that is going to happen unless, yes, we know if Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala sends rain, it is within His qudra and power to do so, then obviously the situation can change, and may Allah shower us with the beneficial rain.
Amen.
But the situation is as it is on the ground. The city have not managed this particular situation well. It could have done better. And for now, obviously, it is where it is now. The politicians will come in this particular situation and would want to either win their votes and want to do something about it, but the masses need to stand up. We have to take the responsibility. We find ourselves in a situation where the current crisis is either being abused by the sense of the capitalists, the exploitation. Some people are making money and bucks out of this whole situation, make good money out of the situation. And the reality is the poor man in the street who represents him or her. And this is where we believe our focuses should be. We must be able to have at heart the condition of the poor man on the street. They've introduced what is known as this water mechanism device. And it has been almost pushed upon the people. The coalition is also saying, is this the right device? Has it been approved? What type of approval is it? And there is now a study being made in terms of how applicable is it. So whilst we agree with the fact that mechanisms or the situation of addressing the drought and the water crisis, the city has the responsibility of introducing a certain type of regulations. It should not be one where the masses are being exploited or where the capitalists are able to gain the benefit out of it. And this is where we require the community to stand together. In many communities, there have been water crisis management type of a situation being formed, where people come together. They have now created a type of a forum, and we hope those particular forums can increase and people can be able to look at how they can make an impact, inshallah, and on the city of Cape Town as well as on the DA-led government in the Western Cape.
Now, away from the water crisis, Moulana, another challenge in the Cape region is that of the mortuaries and the delays or the post-mortems and that kind of thing. Can you give us an update in that regard?
Yes, alhamdulillah, we were fortunate this week to have met once again the Minister of Health here in the Western Cape and members of the HOD of that particular department. And we also met with the Premier Helen Zille. And the purposes of that particular meeting primarily was to address the issue of the mortuary. And this particular matter is driven by our honorable, respected, beloved brother Sheikh Riyad Fattar, that serves as the second deputy president of the MDC. He is the chairperson of the cemetery board of the MDC and has driven this particular process extremely well. Now, we presented an emotional picture to the minister as well as to the premier with regard to when there is a death which requires for post-mortem to take place and the trauma on the family. Now, the province or the minister presented to us the document to say where there had been an improvement from 7 days or 5 days waiting to 3 days and 2 days waiting. But the Muslim Leadership Council holds the view that we need to have a definitive time where a body, if it goes into the mortuary, it requires to go through that particular process, and then it needs to be released at a set time. Our demand or request had been for 24-hour period of time. We do understand that in some instance, and many instances, like for example, a person happens to be in hospital, he goes through a process of an operation, and something happens there. Then the hospital has the responsibility of doing the necessary investigation. They're not going to discharge a body by merely allowing the family to take the body. There's investigation to be done. Now, the investigating officers at times, that is not probably within the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Health. That is an entire process on its own. That particular process sometimes has its own limitations or restrictions and so forth. But once again, we believe, when we met with the Premier, she mentioned in terms of the high crime level within the Western Cape, the gang violence, the increase of population in the Western Cape. All of these particular things are being presented. So what planning has been put into in this particular regard? We are saying that if we knew that this is the extent, then there should be a level where planning should have been done. We have been told the budget has been cut, and with regard to the pathologists, they cannot keep up with that particular extent of of people that land up in the mortuaries, or the deceased that lands up in the mortuaries. Be that as it may, the fact of the matter is the Muslim Judicial Council, alhamdulillah, under the leadership of Sheikh Riyad, remain committed where we must be able to address the issue. We have met once again with the minister. They will continuously strive to give priority to the cases of in this particular regard. And the priority is not on any other reason but for the fact that from a religious perspective, we should be able to be given an opportunity where we present the case. And they are appreciative of the fact that we have helped for the identification process. That particular process also, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, would help the authorities there to speed up that particular process. But I think it's a matter that is ongoing, and we hope and pray, alhamdulillah, inshallah, that the matter can be brought back to normality, inshallah. We are very grateful. We have got a task team. The task team consists of business people. I'm talking about the Muslim Judicial Council. It consists of undertakers. It consists of ulama and others, so that we can collectively address the issue and the crisis around this particular matter.
Finally, Moulana, before we let you go, with regards to the water crisis that we spoke about early on, and now also the challenges with regards mortuaries and post-mortems, as a Muslim community, what lessons do we learn from here that we can take forward and that will hold us in good stead in the future?
So this is a very important point, Moulana. You know, the Muslim community in South Africa, we must capitalize on the opportunities that Allah provides us. Every challenge brings its own opportunity. And the opportunity that is being presented to us by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this era, in the time that we find ourselves in, must be analyzed. What are the particular opportunities? We are a Muslim community that is vibrant, that's contributive to our community in South Africa, towards nation building, towards the development of our country, and we must remain focused on that. We are a Muslim community, not in a Muslim predominant society that has Muslim law and Muslim regulations. In our country, we must be able to adapt ourselves to what is being presented to us within that particular sphere and that particular space. And so, be it the mortuary issue, or the water crisis issue, or any other matter, be it political or social, or be it educational, we must be able to identify what is the best way for us within that particular matter. As a Muslim community, we cannot always have issues or matters being resolved according to how Islam wants it to be resolved for us. We would want to have a body to go into the mortuary, gone through a process, and immediately must come out within the space of 12 hours or before sunset, how the non-Muslim community sometimes understand it, the Muslim burial must take place. If that cannot be, then we must be able to find within our fiqh and within the teachings of Islam that which is amenable and applicable within our deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are a Muslim community here that must continue instead of wanting to blame, wanting to complain. We must be a community that must be able to embrace and use the opportunities to the best of our ability. I said to the people today in the Jummah, alhamdulillah, the water crisis, when the 21st or the 12th of April is going to come about, isn't this presenting us and our masajid and our imams with an opportunity of showcasing the beauty of Islam? Are we going to be a community that's going to be self-centered and going to be only focusing on our needs? Or shouldn't it be an opportunity where our masajid, our Muslim community, and already I must be able to share with the viewers of ITV, on Monday, alhamdulillah, we're meeting with the leadership of the various regions in the Western Cape, alhamdulillah, to speak about how the masjid must become the focal point of reaching out towards the non-Muslim communities, to the churches, towards the faith leaders of other communities, and how we can be able to become the shining stars of our communities and our localities of reaching out. This is an opportunity. every moment when we are challenged, we must be able to find what is it that Almighty Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala provides for us here. Now, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, in this particular situation, we have the opportunity where we are part of that water coalition, where we must be able to present the beauty of Islam and the teachings and the guidance of Islam. It's not to the benefit of us to be isolated and wanting to think that we need to only focus upon our wudu, our ghusl, and our amount of water that we require within our masjid and within our homes. We have to think in terms of what is the need for the neighbor. On Sunday, inshallah Aziz, we appeal to all the viewers here in the Western Cape. We are having Salatul Istisqa. Is it presenting an opportunity for us to show that this is the prophetic guidance? When there is no water and there is drought, then the Prophet Muhammad, who serves as the final messenger of Almighty Allah, he has taught us that we must go all out into the hilly areas, and we must be able to gather the community, young and old, and everybody must come out and we must cry in front of Almighty Allah. It presents us with an opportunity to show that the Muslim community, we are part of this particular South African society. We are part of those who are faced with the challenges of within our community, but equally provides us the message of Islam, the Risalatul Islam, the Risalatul Rahmah, the message of mercy to all our fellow South Africans, so that the beauty of Islam can be able to be shown to the rest of South Africa, that we are ready, not only to be complaining and blaming and all of that, but rather to take upon the particular challenges and be able to say, how do we move forward? May Allah guide us all, inshallah, so that we can be able to use these as opportunities for us to show the message of Islam, inshallah.
Moulana, Jazakumullah so much for your time this evening. We really appreciate it, and may Allah Ta'ala make it easy for the leadership of the Muslim community and for the broader leadership in the Cape region to think strategically, and may Allah make it easy for all those who reside in the region who will face this water crisis in specific, and also the challenges with the mortuary.
Jazakumullah Moulana. This last point, we have motivated our communities to increase in istighfar. فَقُلْتُ اسْتَغْفِرُوا رَبَّكُمْ إِنَّهُ كَانَ غَفَّارًا. We know that the other day, if Moulana would allow me, the clouds were hanging over Cape Town. And the weather forecast was that we are going to receive some rain. Very little came. Despite the forecast. The forecasters are not to be blamed. What is to be looked at is our a'mal and our actions. The red lights are flickering, not for the 12th of April. The red lights are flickering for the fact that how can we, the Ummah, draw the rahmah of Almighty Allah? Jazakumullah for the opportunity, Moulana Sulaimaan, and wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all the viewers.
That was Moulana Abdul Khaliq Ibrahim Ali. He is the Deputy President of the Muslim Judicial Council. He was talking to us this evening live from Cape Town about the water crisis and also the challenges with the mortuaries and post-mortems. It's time for a break. When we come back, we unpack some of the issues that Moulana Abdul Khaliq raised and some of the points that he made. Welcome back. So we are coming to you live this evening from our studios in Sunninghill, Johannesburg, and we spoke there in the first segment of the program to the Deputy President of the Muslim Judicial Council, Moulana Abdul Khaliq Ali. Right, so there's a water crisis in Cape Town, and in many parts of South Africa, I would say almost most parts of South Africa, there are concerns regarding the water. Even in Gauteng, we are still at a particular level of restriction. It doesn't mean that the dams are full a year and that there isn't a crisis as things stand, that there aren't concerns about the amount of water that we are consuming and what's to happen in the short to medium term. I'm going to open the lines on 011 086 7777. The number will flash on your screen as well. I would especially want our viewers from Cape Town to call in to tell us, what's life like with these water restrictions? What lessons have they learned? What kind of adjustments did they have to make to their routine? And then what are people's thoughts? There is this kind of message on WhatsApp that's being circulated that, there's no water crisis, the dams are full, but it's the rubbish that's accumulating that's blocking the water, or there is some sort of Zionist conspiracy behind all of this. I'm a bit wary about these kind of things because it's so widely accepted that there is a water crisis. partly because of climate change and the lack of rainfall, partly because of mismanagement and leakage. What percentage of blame is to be attributed where? That's a particular process, right? But these kind of theories, I don't know, but perhaps those who believe in those theories have some fact to back it up. So they can also call us on 011 086 7777. Earlier in the week on my radio program, I was making this point, and I said that, in the old days, in the former Transvaal, Natal area, I'm not so sure about the Cape area, but I wouldn't assume that it was too different. People used to bath with a bucket. They used to bath with a bucket. When I grew up, I spent a lot of time in Marikana, where my maternal grandparents were based. And because it was a farm town, farmhouse, there was a shower facility, not to say there wasn't, but they never really had a geyser attached to it. So they used to have a bucket. The water used to be warmed on the coal stove. And I grew up, using a bucket. But obviously, once I came back to my hometown in Asia and, got used to taking a shower, using a bucket became a little bit of a challenge because, you get used to a particular way. But water crisis or not, when we shower, the amount of water that we waste. Somebody said to me something the other day. They said Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made wudu with less water than we utilize just to get the water to turn hot. So when you go into this shower, you open the water, then you're feeling, the temperature's not right, and you're adjusting. The amount of water that flows whilst we're doing all of those adjustments before we actually get done with the shower proper, the Prophet ﷺ actually used less than that amount of water for his entire ghusl. We know that Rasulullah ﷺ used just a little more than this much of water. This is half a liter. The Prophet ﷺ used approximately 3/4 of a liter, 750 milliliters of water to make wudu. Now, whether there's a crisis or not, how much of water are we wasting in our masajid? That's something to think about. And is this not an opportunity? Does this crisis not present us with an opportunity to start disciplining ourselves? Let's go to the lines. Caller, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The caller dropped, unfortunately. Please do call back. All right, let's try again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Oh, okay. It seems like the caller has dropped again. But the number to dial 011 086 7777. Do you think that in our homes, have your shower, nobody's saying remove your shower, but start training your children to use a bucket to shower? I see Helen Zille tweeted in the week where she had her feet in the scuttle. And she said she grew up using a vaslap in the scuttle, and that, she washes her hair in the basin and then takes that same water and puts it into the cistern for the toilet, and that she took a bath into a scuttle. And she can do that, and she feels she needs to lead by example. Now, I'm saying that even in Gauteng, or even in Natal, or even in the provinces where there isn't that much of a problem, because we have to save water as Muslims, irrespective whether there is a crisis or not. We cannot be wasting water, even if you're on the riverbank, as we are always reminded. So, is it not an idea that within your shower, put a bucket and train your children? It's not going to happen overnight. It takes a while. But train them to take a shower with a bucket. If after all, you just want to still feel that shower, so after you've bathed with the bucket, you take a quick shower just because you want a drenching effect, fair enough. But then you will be wasting, or you will be using much less water. Even in our masajid, they've put the shower taps now in the Cape region. Shouldn't we be doing it across the board to save water? Let's go to the caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam, Moulana.
Where are you calling from, brother?
Pretoria.
Pretoria, go ahead.
I think this water crisis must also make us ask another important question, is that how 30 million people are living in poverty. They don't have enough food. They don't know if they have clean water, and they don't know if they have a shelter over. So I think as middle class and upper class society, we only realize what more than half the country is facing when we have this little crisis, which is water. But and I think it is predicted that probably in another 40 or 50 years, there might be wars globally over water. So water is a very important commodity, but also we must learn to share as well. We need an economic system that addresses the needs of the poor.
I think it's a profound point. You've hit the nail on the head. Jazakumullah for that. Really appreciate it.
Jazakallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I think the brothers makes a brilliant point. Let's think of those people who, water crisis or not, they live in shacks, or they live in what we call squatter camps, and they don't have access to water their whole lives. They don't have access to water. This will give us an opportunity to actually identify with them, to make us think, how much we take for granted. The lines are open, 011 086 7777. We're talking the water crisis. What are your thoughts? What are some of the solutions that you have in mind? Let's take our next caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum. We're going to have to put down the volume of the TV, otherwise we're going to get feedback and it's going to be difficult for you to hear us and for us to hear you. Right, as the callers come in, we'll move to the calls. But coming back to that suggestion, I don't know what the viewers think. Should all of us say that, okay, sometimes you need a crisis as a wake-up call. Sometimes you need a crisis as a wake-up call, and no crisis should go, without us seeing the opportunity in it. And I think one of the opportunities here is that let us all become disciplined across the country and say, right, we're going to make wudu with such taps and in such a way where we use much less water than what we are using now across the country, right? So put those shower taps in masajid across the country. We may struggle to get used to it initially, but we will get used to it. Then let's put the buckets in our homes, in the shower, right? And train ourselves and our children to do it. Let's take the next caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All right, okay. No caller yet. As soon as we have a caller, we'll take it. Right, and also the verse of the Quran. Let's understand the verse of the Quran where Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala mentions, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. That we have created every living thing from water. We have created every living thing from water. Water is the source of life. If you ask the experts, they will tell you that even within your body, if you look at the composition of your body, what is it? They say 71% or something like that of water. If you look at Earth, it's mostly water. When you see the pictures of Earth from space, you see all that blue. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has given that significance to water. And as the brother says, I also read the article somewhere that wars are going to be All right, let's take the caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, the callers seem to be dropping today. I'm not sure what the reason is, but okay, we did get the one brother coming through. Let's see if we can still facilitate a few callers. So at that point, the brother was saying that wars will be fought over control for water. We already see in the politics of the world, how a lot of what takes place and the politicking and the jostling for power and for geographical advantage has to do with water resource. It has to do with who has control over water, because there's so much that flows from water, apart from the fact that we use water for eating and for drinking, for eating in terms of cooking and drinking and cleaning and that kind of thing. There's electricity and there's a whole lot of other stuff where water plays its part. So we need to understand this. And I'm still saying that all of us, I live in Gauteng at the moment, there isn't a crisis. But yes, there are concerns and there are restrictions. And we know that just over a year ago, we were facing some stiff restrictions here as well. Not as bad as Cape Town, but then alhamdulillah, and that's also something we should never lose focus on. Something that we should never lose sight of. And that was that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala had just opened up the heavens unexpectedly. The heavens opened up unexpectedly, and it filled up the dams. And as a result, the pressure was eased. We'll take a break. When we come back, the lines are still open, so if you want to call. Okay, here's a caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum. Where are you calling from, sister?
From Cape Town.
Okay, can you just speak up a bit? I'm struggling to hear you.
Yes, Moulana.
Yes, okay, go ahead.
I think, Moulana, this is a man-made problem.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the politicians have really a political will to sort this problem.
Why do you say that?
Because it seems like the rich is getting richer and they're feeding off the poor. I'm just thinking people that's really struggling, that's not working. People is having to buy water. It's nothing less than 25 rand for 5 liters. And it's really just sad. I really just would buy into this. I think it's just people wanting to make money over the poor. Jazakallah,
You-
Maulana. Assalamu
okay,
alaikum.
sister, Jazakumullah. Yeah, there is this message that is being circulated. There is this theory. I suppose many would be skeptical. There are those who would say, okay, the rich would get richer in the sense that they may have the capital to then monopolize on the buying of water, but then they're also going to suffer, right? Because the taps are going to be switched off, even in those affluent areas, and then they won't have running water in their homes. And they won't have water in their taps, and they won't have the ability to take showers and all of those kind of things. So I think Abdul Khalik Ali gave the perspective when he said that in the end of the day, there's different parties that have to take blame to different extents. That discussion needs to take place, so we don't have a repeat. But right now, we need to face the crisis head on. Time for a break.
جميل المساعي وامنح الناس حب جميل المساعي وامنح الناس حب.
Welcome back. We are live this evening from our studios here in Sunning Hill, Johannesburg. It's January. It's back to the grind. It's back to work. It's back to the treadmill of life. Maybe treadmill is not the right description, because in the treadmill you run, sweat, but you're still on the same spot. I suppose some of us feel that way, isn't it? We work, and we feel we're not making too much of progress. But hey, there's so much more to be positive about. There's so much more to be positive about. And as Muslims, we always have to be positive. You know, I always give this example and I say the Prophet ﷺ had 3 stones tied to his belly because of poverty. He had to dig a trench to keep out the enemy. And yet when he was digging the trench, he was predicting the fall of the Roman and the Persian Empire, which were the superpowers of the time, at the hand of the Muslims. So we know what's the recipe for success, because Allah has given us the blueprint. Allah has given us the Quran, Allah has given us the Sunnah, Allah has given us the Seerah. Life will be topsy-turvy. It will have its ups and downs, its peaks and valleys, its highs and lows. But that blueprint teaches us and it gives us guidelines on how to deal with it. And Allah tells us in the Quran, وَتِلْكَ الْأَيَّامِ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. One day you're on top, another day you'll be a little down, then you'll be up again. All right, let's take a caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, brother. You're live. Hello, brother. Are you still there?
Assalamu alaikum, Moulana.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Durban, Moulana.
Durban, G. Talk to me.
Make dua, Moulana.
Indeed, we have to.
Make dua. This whole ummah is in crisis, Moulana. Allah won't change the nation of the condition until we change ourselves, Moulana. Today the ummah is falling apart. Why? We got no unity in Islam, Moulana. We need to unite. Because we are fighting among ourselves, Moulana. We need to unite. We have to stand one. And another one point, Moulana, will make irhamu man fil har, yarhamu man fil sama. If you have mercy on people on earth, Allah Pak will have mercy on you. Allah won't change the condition of a nation until we change ourselves, Moulana. Am I right, Moulana?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think you raised two very important points. Jazakumullah, caller from Durban. All right, let's take our next caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Where are you calling from, brother?
Moulana from Benoni.
Benoni, talk to me.
Moulana, you see, what we have to learn from this issue of the water shortages is because of we can't take our life for granted. Many things we take it for granted, even the gifts from Allah. And secondly, Moulana, is that you see, we are also making issues about small issues, and we are fighting amongst ourselves. We need to be more practical about this issue that's just now taking place. Now, also, Moulana, we need to be disciplined and try and be good human beings. And the other thing, Moulana, is that when I read an very sad article in Pakistan, where little children are digging in the mud and taking the water in their hand and drinking it, and they are dying from malnutrition and so forth because they don't have water at all. And this is happening on a big scale in Pakistan now. I didn't realize that there was such a big shortage of water in Pakistan. So actually, it's a worldwide thing. And secondly, Moulana, is also the other aspect is that the infrastructure in South Africa, this has been mentioned about 15, 20 years ago already, that it's collapsing. And with the result that it hasn't been maintained. So all the water is being wasted under. That's why, Moulana, you found that so many of the sinkholes that are appearing all over the show.
Yeah.
Actually, in 1 week's time, we had about 8, 9 sinkholes that appeared in Pretoria, which is a thing that is quite serious.
I think you raise a number of important points. Jazakumullah for the contribution.
Jazakallah, Moulana. Jazakallah.
Right, so if you look at what of those two callers said, the brother from Durban saying dua, 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 you can never underestimate dua. Then he spoke about istighfar, and he echoed what Mullah Abdul Khalik Ali said earlier on, that our actions bring certain conditions upon us. Many times it's our actions, and we need to change ourselves before Allah will change the conditions. They say change happens from the inside out. Even the lifestyle coaches will tell you this these days, right? So, and Mullah Abdul Khalik quoted that ayah that Allah says in Surah Nuh, when you make istighfar, Nuh alayhi salam said to his people, when you make istighfar, one of the benefits is Allah will open up the heavens. Now, those of us who don't stay in Cape Town, we shouldn't say, well, it's their problem. No, it's our problem, because this is also part of unity. If Muslims are suffering, if fellow South Africans are suffering, if humans are suffering, if the creation of Allah is suffering, then it's our problem, because we are like one body. They are all the creation of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. If the animals are suffering also, it's our problem. And the brother from Benoni is saying that, that this aspect of unity, we need to stop now squibbling and squabbling and all of those kind of things over smaller issues that don't have that level of priority. And what we need to do is focus on these key issues that face the ummah in the country. That water infrastructure not being maintained, that is something that comes out from time to time. That throughout the country, this seems to be a problem, and a lot of water is being lost in that way. It may not be in the Cape the primary reason for the situation, but there's no doubt it's a contributing factor. The lines are still open if you want to talk about the water crisis. If you've just joined us if you just joined us now or in the last few minutes, in the first half of the program, we had Mullah Abdul Khalik Ali from the MJC talk to us about the situation in Cape Town and what they're doing and how they're trying to make a difference. And then we had some callers come in. And also I was talking before the callers about being positive. It's the new year. We had that personality series during the holidays. And one of the reasons behind that is we wanted to say, look, these are famous people, you know them. But listen to their stories and how they came to the point where they are today, from which we know them. There's a lot of inspiration in that. So become a person who is inspired themselves and inspire others. Let's take our next caller. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. All right, I think we'll leave the calls at that now, because we have to wrap up. There's one or two things that I wanted to say before we wrap up. Wow, mashallah, last week we had the Seerah Jalsa at the Nurul Islam Masjid in Indonesia. Phenomenal crowd, phenomenal lineup. Mufti Ismail Menk and Moulana Sulaimaan Mullah and Moulana Ibrahim Bam. Brilliant talks on the Seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And you can go to the Nurul Islam Masjid website, nurulislam.org.za, to listen to the podcast of those particular talks. And finally, a little bit of politics towards the end as we conclude. I told my producer also, Mohammed Chunara, that this for 1-2 months in the early part of the year, let's only do politics to the extent that is absolutely necessary, because we had such an overdose. I'm talking of local politics and ANC politics towards the end of last year with the conference and all of that, that we need a bit of a detox. But yeah, you know what, you can't run away from it. It's there, it's part of the reality of what happens on a daily basis. You can just see Zuma's power evaporating, Ramaphosa stamping his authority. He's the new man in town, he's the new man in charge. Internationally, he's got this rapport, he's got this charisma, he's got this way. Zuma had a lot of rapport with people on ground level. And he had a lot of rapport with people in the rural areas. He could dance, he could sing, he could connect with them. But on the international stage, he was somewhat weak, apart from all of his scandals. And Ramaphosa has that connection to some extent with those on ground level, but he can really rub shoulders with the rich and mighty on in the international scene. He seems to be trying to sell the country, and well, whatever he can sell, it's to our benefit, hopefully. But Zuma's not done and dusted yet. The old man, the old fox, he's got a couple of moves still left. Although he knows that he's on his way out. He's going to go before, he's not going to see out his term in all likelihood, but it's not going to be an Mbeki kind of thing. They're going to try and manage it very well. He's going to try and negotiate for certain guarantees behind the scenes. Let's see how it'll all play out. But there's one lesson to learn, and this is what I want to conclude on. In the end of the day, no matter how high you reach, there comes a day when you have to go down. So remember, ultimately it is only Allah who stays on top. It is only Allah who stays on top. It is only Allah who forever remains mighty. You know, even if you reign for as long as you live, you still have to die one day and go down. The greatest of kings, Mugabe ruled for how many years? Just under, 30 odd, and he came down. Gaddafi ruled for how many years? And he came down with disgrace, unfortunately. Zuma was there. He's been part of the top 6 of the ANC since the early 90s. And now he's also on his way out with all his, his strategic acumen and all of that. And this is what it is. In the end, it's about your values and principles, and that is how people will remember you. And you need to look back one day when you're no longer on top and say, well, I did the best that I could when I was there, and I can be proud of that, and I can meet my Creator with a clean conscience. May Allah grant us all the tawfiq, and if Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala is willed, we will meet you next week again, same place, same time. Until then, inshallah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
جميل المساعي وامنح الناس حبك بيض الله قلبك بيض الله قلبك جميل المساعي وامنح الناس حبك جميل المساعي وامنح الناس حبك بيض الله قلبك بيض الله قلبك كن سموحا لخصمك تلقى خصمك أحبك بيض الله قلبك بيض الله قلبك واحتفل بالمودة إنما العمر مدة كن جميل المساعي وامنح الناس حبك بيض الله قلبك بيض الله قلبك كن سموحا لخصمك